Did you know that we, in reality, are refugees and that this is not our home planet? Now, I know that sounds a little ridiculous on the surface, but dear friend, if you do the research, you do the study, and whether it be religion, philosophy, or science, there's good evidence that shows that we don't belong here. Now, there are a lot of different hypotheses that are out there. One that's getting more and more attention is the fact of a destruction of these other worlds, Tiamat, Electra, Maldek. And that because of their destruction, that this created the asteroid belt. Now, what we know today, or what we think we know, and what is taught, is that we are taught that the asteroid belt is basically material left over from the formation of the solar system. Isn't that convenient? It's like, okay, well, don't ask any questions here. You see this nice little box? This is where it's going to stay. But as most things are, when you try to hide them, they all come out. So now, more and more, astrophysicists are beginning to give more thought to the theory that they are, in fact, the asteroid belt is the remains of a planet that was destroyed in a massive collision long ago. But ladies and gentlemen, I contend it may not have been a collision at all. No, I contend it may very well have been a weapon of such massive power that it is still unimaginable to our species. Whatever happened, we know that this happened millions of years ago, or at least to our current knowledge, we say millions of years ago. And when you look at the way that our solar system is set up, there very well appears to be a gap. And boy, are we finding more and more of these exoplanets. Cirrus, Malcolmake. I mean, do you get the idea? And when you study this and you look at it with a fresh set of eyes, you can clearly see this very well could be the remains of our home planet. Again, take a look. You can see it fits. And when you look at the massiveness of space that we're talking between Mars and Jupiter, another planet would naturally fit there. So what's missing? Very well, our home world. Strange, isn't it? To think that we may not even belong here. Wow. And the thing about it is, this was not our war. We were casualties of war in this case. And apparently other races were as well. Our planet was attacked and destroyed. We see the impact of this on the other planets. When you begin to stop and think, what kind of power would it take to destroy a planet other than another massive body coming in? A weapon? The other planets were impacted, and it appears entire races were wiped out. And so when we look at this, this is really the aftermath, the debris field. Maybe one day we'll be able to explore there and find artifacts, relics. And when you look at Jupiter and the amount and the way of the moons that are around Jupiter and their orbits, it clearly would indicate something else happened here. Maybe some of those moons were our moons and belonged to our world. And what we know of these destroyers, they haunt our memories. Oh, they go deep, deep deep. Every religion has them. Every myth has them. Every nightmare has them. They haunt us. It's because they are our captors. And they destroyed our world. Now, we always try to get in debate amongst our species. Our races clash with one another. We kill one another. And this is what they want. Because we'll contend, well, there are good and there are bad. We don't know that. How do you know? How do you really think our species knows who is the good guys and who is the bad guys? We don't know. But boy, we build religions on this and we enslave ourselves even more. And the fear that we have is because they came from the heavens and shed blood and still do. Our species, our people, our races have spilt more of our blood than these, for they're cowards. They won't manifest, only when it's convenient. And it's why we fear. Even today we fear them. And whether the construct be one of a good or a bad, be honest. The greater populace, the greatest masses, still fear them. And for good reason. They conquer solar systems. They are war. Now, we've put this through the religions of whether you have the Judeo-Christian theocracy or whether you have, Islam theocracy, whether you have the Hindi theocracy. It's still a theocracy. It's still a religion. No God has ever manifested itself on this planet because the gods don't exist. Now, there are species that we have worshiped and bowed down to as gods, but they are still our conquerors. And we're not alone here. When we arrived here, there were others who were here before us. Now, of course, mankind stands up and says, but nothing is greater than man. Really? What proof do you have of that? What can you do? Look at our species. But there's a new awakening. We're realizing that this is not just myth. Okay, so there are others here. Now, where they are, I don't know. Maybe underground. But they're here. They've left their calling card all over the world. We've long suspected that the moon was artificial. But the new thought is that it was designed as an ark, that it was brought here by a greater species, and this ark is still parked as a remembrance that it was our salvation. And it's why we look to the heavens for our salvation. It's why we look to the moon and have worshiped the moon throughout our existence, because the moon was our ark. It was our Savior. It brought us here, and it remains in the sky as a remembrance. Now, some of our kind escaped to create a new homeworld. And yet today, we still wait for their return. Our ancestors promised to return for us. And we look to the heavens for our redemption. And we wait for our relief. Think about this. Be kind to one another.